The anomaly had vanished as quickly as it had come. Within the hour the alarms ceased, the guards regrouped, and the prisoners were herded back into routine, as if the event had been a minor glitch, not the tremor of something deeper and more dangerous. But Pearl knew better. So did Nova. Back in the suffocating rhythm of forced labor, Pearl's mind couldn't stop replaying the moment the floor vibrated like a resonating engine chamber under stress. The warning hadn't been for the prisoners. It had been for the staff. Whatever had stirred beneath the penitentiary had rattled even the authority. Now back in the work detail area, Pearl's movements seemed even more calculated, more urgent. She didn't just want to escape. She needed to, before whatever had caused that system-wide lockdown revealed itself. And Nova had gone quiet, focused, like she was listening to something only she could hear. A countdown had begun. Neither of them knew how much time was left, but both understood. The prison was no longer the most dangerous thing inside Sector 9. The work detail area buzzes with the constant activity of forced labor, a vast space filled with assembly stations where prisoners perform the menial but essential task of repairing equipment for the station. The irony isn't lost on Pearl that they're maintaining the very systems designed to keep them imprisoned, their expertise turned against their own interests. Row upon row of workbenches stretch across the floor, each equipped with basic tools and components that the guards consider too harmless to pose any security risk. Pearl has claimed a station near the center of the room, a position that allows her to observe guard patterns while maintaining the appearance of complete focus on her assigned tasks. Her hands work with practiced efficiency, but her true skill lies in the subtle sleight of hand that allows her to remove tiny components and slip them into her sleeve when surveillance isn't focused in her direction. Each pilfered piece is carefully chosen. The precision required for this covert operation appeals to her engineering mindset. Every movement must be calculated, every theft timed to coincide with the guards' predictable patrol patterns. She's mapped their routines down to the second, understanding that the authorities' obsession with order creates exploitable weaknesses. Guard Station Alpha. Visual sweep every 43 seconds. Station Beta. Focused attention on the eastern section for 12-second intervals. These patterns have become as familiar to her as the technical specifications of her beloved starships. Nova works at a station nearby, her approach to the mundane repair tasks as unconventional as everything else about her, while other prisoners follow the detailed procedural manuals with mind-numbing precision. Nova's hands move in patterns that seem almost choreographed, flowing and organic rather than mechanical. She appears to be daydreaming, her luminous eyes focused on something beyond the immediate task, yet her work progresses with remarkable efficiency. A supervisor approaches Nova with the aggressive swagger of someone drunk on small amounts of power. "You're doing it wrong. Again, follow the procedure." He barks, his face flushed with the particular anger of petty authority being challenged. He demonstrates the correct assembly pattern with exaggerated movements, each gesture designed to emphasize Nova's supposed incompetence. His demeanor carries the casual xenophobia that Pearl has observed throughout the facility, the assumption that different means inferior, that alien approaches must be corrected to match authority standards. Nova nods with that same serene expression she seems to wear regardless of circumstances. "Of course, how enlightening. The cosmic flow of the components eluded me," she responds, her voice carrying not the slightest trace of sarcasm despite the supervisor's condescending tone. The supervisor stares at her in obvious confusion, his brain struggling to process a response that's neither defiant nor subservient. After a moment, he shakes his head and moves away, muttering under his breath about weird alien nonsense and the challenges of managing non-human prisoners. The moment his attention shifts elsewhere, Nova returns to her original method with seamless grace. Pearl, who has been covertly observing this interaction while maintaining her own work rhythm, notices that Nova's incorrect technique is actually producing results at nearly twice the speed of the standard procedure. The alien's approach seems to intuitively understand the optimal flow of energy through the components, working with their natural properties rather than forcing them into rigid patterns. Intrigued despite herself, Pearl slides closer, under the pretense of reaching for a specialized tool. The movement appears casual, but it's actually part of her careful spatial choreography, always maintaining awareness of guard positions, sight lines, and potential escape routes, even during the most mundane activities. "That's not protocol," she whispers, though her tone carries more curiosity than criticism. Nova's response comes without any interruption to her fluid work rhythm. Protocol is merely one path to an outcome. There are always multiple routes to a destination. Pearl's engineering training immediately rebels against this philosophy. In engineering, precision matters. One wrong connection and an innovation becomes impossible. Precision without creativity is stagnation. Nova finishes, her words carrying the weight of someone who has seen entire civilizations fall due to rigid thinking. Pearl wants to scoff at this apparent rejection of fundamental engineering principles, but she can't argue with the results she's witnessing. Nova's work isn't just faster, it's elegantly efficient in ways that the authorities' procedures completely miss. The implications are troubling for someone whose entire worldview is built on the supremacy of systematic approaches to problem solving. As she watches Nova work, Pearl finds herself reluctantly impressed by the alien's intuitive understanding of complex systems. There's something almost artistic about the way Nova's hands move, as if she's composing music rather than assembling mechanical components. It challenges Pearl's assumptions about the relationship between technical precision and creative problem solving. The components you're collecting, they're for a localized EMP device, aren't they? Nova observes casually, her voice barely audible above the ambient noise of the work area. Pearl's blood runs cold, her hands freezing mid-motion as paranoia floods her system. "Keep your voice down. How did you—" Nova continues, working as if they're discussing nothing more significant than the weather. The energy pattern is distinct, but it won't work on the cell doors. They have isolated backup circuits. The casual delivery of this devastating analysis hits Pearl like a physical blow. She spent weeks perfecting her design, calculating power requirements, mapping electrical systems, and Nova has just identified the fatal flaw she hasn't yet discovered. The alien is right, of course. Pearl realizes it the moment it's pointed out. The cell doors operate on independent power systems specifically designed to prevent exactly the kind of electromagnetic sabotage she's been planning. Pearl pauses in her work, frustration warring with grudging respect for Nova's technical insight. "I was going to figure that out in the next phase," she admits reluctantly, though they both know she might have wasted precious time and resources before discovering the problem herself. Nova's response carries no judgment, only a quiet offer of collaboration. I could help. On Luminara, we developed ways to channel bioenergetic fields to disrupt electronic systems. It's how we fought back initially. Pearl's scientific skepticism immediately kicks in. Bioenergetic, what kind of pseudo-scientific? Her dismissive words die in her throat as Nova discreetly holds up her palm. A faint purple energy ripples just above her skin, barely visible but unmistakably real. A nearby monitor flickers momentarily, its screen displaying brief static before returning to normal. The demonstration is subtle enough to avoid guard attention, but dramatic enough to shatter Pearl's preconceptions about the boundaries of possible technology. That's impossible, Pearl gasps, her worldview tilting on its axis. Nova's expression grows patient, the look of someone who has had to explain incomprehensible concepts before. Only impossible because you haven't discovered it yet. Just as Earth once thought, faster than light, travel was impossible. The comparison hits home with devastating accuracy. Pearl remembers her own struggles to convince Earth's scientific establishment that practical FTL travel was achievable, the years of ridicule and dismissal before her theories proved correct. The reminder that impossible often simply means not yet understood forces her to reconsider her automatic rejection of Nova's abilities. If we could combine that with a focused EMP, Pearl muses, her engineer's mind already beginning to explore the possibilities. Nova's smile carries deep satisfaction, the expression of someone who has successfully planted a seed of possibility. Now you're thinking beyond the boundaries. Before their collaboration can progress further, Pearl suddenly doubles over as a familiar wave of pain crashes through her system. Her hands press against her lower abdomen as cramps that rival her teenage years remind her that her body's rebellion against middle age doesn't respect timing or circumstance. She breathes through the discomfort with the controlled technique of someone who has learned that fighting the pain only makes it worse. Nova immediately notices Pearl's distress, her empathic abilities picking up the sharp spikes of physical discomfort. The ascendance pains? Cramps. Been getting them again like when I was a teenager. Doctor said it can happen during this time, Pearl explains, straightening up with effort and trying to project normalcy, despite the fact that her internal organs feel like they're staging a revolt. Nova glances around to ensure they're not being observed, then leans closer. On Luminara, we use heat channeling to ease the discomfort. Without waiting for permission, Nova discreetly places her hand near Pearl's abdomen. A gentle warmth emanates from her palm, seeping through Pearl's uniform and into her cramping muscles. The relief is immediate and profound, as if someone has finally applied the correct technical solution to a mechanical problem. That's actually helpful, Pearl admits, her surprise evident. The warmth doesn't just mask the pain, it seems to address the underlying tension, encouraging her muscles to relax in ways that human pain relievers never achieve. Nova's expression grows thoughtful as she maintains the healing contact. We are not so different, despite our origins. The statement carries layers of meaning that Pearl is only beginning to understand. The idea that beings from completely different worlds might share fundamental experiences challenges her assumptions about the uniqueness of human biology. If menopause, or the ascendance, as Nova calls it, is truly universal among sentient species, then perhaps other aspects of existence are more connected than she's ever imagined. The work period buzzer sounds. its harsh tone cutting through their moment of connection. Around them, prisoners begin the familiar routine of cleaning their stations and preparing for the next scheduled activity. Nova withdraws her hand, but the warmth lingers, leaving Pearl with a profound sense of gratitude mixed with curiosity about the alien's abilities. Tonight, after the third guard rotation, the surveillance systems fluctuate for approximately 42 seconds during the shift change. We could continue this conversation, Nova suggests quietly, her voice barely audible above the noise of clean-up activities. Pearl hesitates, her ingrained caution warring with her growing recognition that Nova might represent her best chance for successful escape. The alien has already proven her value by identifying flaws in Pearl's plans and demonstrating capabilities that could overcome previously insurmountable obstacles. More than that, Nova has shown unexpected kindness during Pearl's moment of vulnerability, creating a foundation of trust that Pearl didn't expect to feel. After a moment of internal calculation, Pearl gives an almost imperceptible nod as they're led back toward their cells. The decision feels both terrifying and inevitable, like stepping off a cliff, while hoping she's calculated the trajectory correctly.